Everybody, Dave Savage here. Looking forward to having a great conversation. Good morning to everybody on the West Coast. Good afternoon out to everybody on the East Coast. Although just looking at the names of folks that are on today's call, looks like we have a little more West Coast and East Coast. I'm actually in San Francisco today at the Digital Mortgage Conference. If anybody has any questions about that when I start unmuting and opening the call, feel free to ask. You know, a couple takeaways are it's amazing who's at this event. I mean, when I first heard about it, I really thought of, oh, this is just a media company, you know, profiteering on the digital movement, and it's going to be a bunch of vendors telling how great they are. But I've been really impressed with the quality of the vendors and technology leaders, the quality of the presentations, quality of the insight, and I've been blown away with the CEOs, heads of production, CTOs from some of the most innovative mortgage companies in the country are here. So I thought I would open up with a bit of a keynote. It is just me as your host today. You know, if this call goes a full hour, great. We'll keep talking, answering questions, and collaborating. But if it goes a half hour, you know, this may be a short call. Also, I do want to announce we're not going to do this call for the remainder of the month, just to give everybody the white space for the holiday. You know, everybody's got Christmas parties. You know, it's a busy time of year. I thought, you know, it's going to be tough to just crush it every Friday with a good group of folks having this conversation. So we're going to kick it off first Friday in January, which I believe is the 6th. And for now, let's get started with a bit of the keynote that I'd like to give everybody, and then I will open it up for questions. And I created these slides, one from the interview I did with Darren on Thursday of last week. That was an invite-only call where I just invited heads of productions and CEOs, although I did record it, and I did make that available in our Facebook private group. So I posted that last week. If anybody's having a hard time finding it, just let us know in notes. By the way, I'm in San Francisco, and you can hear that siren. Apologize for that. Hopefully it doesn't blow up too much of what I'm saying. So like I said, these slides I'm going to go through are a combination of just a few things, but it's really a week old. So one, the call with Darren last week was really solid. You know, I mean, part of it was us telling CEOs and heads of production why they need to put their loan officers through the same productivity. So there was no doubt a sales pitch, but these were some visual notes that we had created from the call. So just unpacking some of the things. I'm going to go through this in a little more detail in just a minute. But, you know, this concept that digital dysfunction is the #1 productivity killer in the mortgage business. I want to get feedback on that from you guys on this call. I mean, I think just given how much that comes up in our conversations, everybody's going to agree with it. But I'd like to just talk about that a little bit. You know, this was, you know, a little more details on the presentation itself. Like I said, if you have key questions, let me know. When I asked people what were your favorite takeaways from it, over and over and over and over, again, the way Darren used the analogy of, you know, it's like surfing. You know, there's things you can control, things you can't control, and you get the wave, you just ride it. This was a good analogy that folks really liked in the call. You know, this was a breakdown of the program. I'd like to talk about that a little bit towards the end of the call. But here's a chart that I put together for an interview I did recently. We're just talking about where is technology, like what could we do with technology, and then from a human adaptability standpoint, whether it's how we think or how we use technology, where we're at, and we're behind. You know, we are behind where we need to be, and as I see it, we're getting further behind. You know, when I say we, I mean the mortgage industry. Over and over and over again, I've heard people say that the mortgage industry is 5 years behind the rest of the world. I've heard 10 years. I think it's probably 5 years. And how we're using mobile technology it's just behind, and it's a double-edged sword. So how do we catch up? We learn faster. You know, and it's one of the things why I invested in this program with Darren. I'm rolling it out to the mortgage industry. I need to learn faster. I need to be more efficient than ever. And our community of the best mortgage coach professionals, we need to be better. Some of that is technology, and some of that's not using technology. So Darren brought up this concept of raise your set point. Listen to the call. I'm not going to get into detail on what your set point is. If you know, great. If you don't, then you need to listen to the call. I think you guys probably remember this. Wow. Seems like maybe I'm right in the scene of the crime here. But I don't know if you remember this or not. But when we think of technology over and over and over in this mastermind that we've been going through, overusing technology, being bugged by alerts, being, dominated by Facebook, using technology when we shouldn't be using technology, huge productivity killer. So whether I said, let's talk about this or not, every time we do these calls, people are talking about this. I would love to focus on success stories in today's call because I think coming into the holidays, we all want to be more present with our families. We all want to be more present to plan for 2017, and we all want to take it to the next level. So, what are we going to do to reduce, call it the digital dysfunction? By the way, here's the quote. And then, another reason why I took on this project and we as a company took it on is we believe that not only would our members become more productive and more successful, we believe that they would use our technology better, so that when every time a family is getting into debt, they've raised the standards. They need to get a mobile experience. They need to get digital advice, whether they're coming into the office or whether you're meeting with a realtor at a coffee shop. You're using technology on the other side, to improve your productivity. So I don't know if y'all realize this, but at Mortgage Coach, we've got over 20 integrations. So I bring this up in this call. Some of you are loan officers or branch managers. And, all you can do is be champions to get the CEO to turn this on. But I just want everybody, I think branch managers can control how you use integrations. This is an example of how we integrate with Optimal Blue. And, where you just pick different loan programs, click a button, out comes a total cost analysis. Now, obviously, this is creating a total cost analysis more efficient, more effective, and this is a high-value touch point. But I showed this for a couple reasons. One, to make sure that as it pertains to creating total cost analysis, you have the most effective workflow. This is one example of turbocharging your workflow, but there's other high-value touch points that you do. And I would just propose to everybody, this is the time of year to think about what are the high-value touch points. I'm not talking about the critical few. I'm talking about when you think of the touch points that really matter within your consumer experience, within your realtor experience, could you be doing it more efficiently and more effectively and saving time? Let's audit that. Obviously, if you have Optimal Blue and if you're on this call, you either lead people who use Mortgage Coach or you are using Mortgage Coach, go through the workflow. I mean, we've got a lot of folks that have this turned on and they're just not using it. And to me, that's just not maximum productivity. So this was a quote that we talked about during Darren's call. I think it's probably even come up in these calls, but I definitely believe that the key to success. Yeah, we need to read and write, but it's learning, unlearning, and relearning new strategies to be more productive and more efficient. So want to ask, I had sent a number of folks, and asked for some testimonials on insane productivity. And I asked for these for a few reasons. One, we're launching and we're bringing in a new class. So as of January, Darren and I are doing another call. We're going to bring in 100 or more people into this program. So we're going to have a lot more folks going through the program for the first time. Everybody that's on this call and who has been on this call, you're in the community. You come to these calls as long as we're doing them. And as you know, you have access to all the content. But I would love more testimonials if it's from the heart. I just want things that are from the heart. One, we want to use these to help get more people coming in as testimonials. And two, one of the things I'm finding is like when I look at the 100+ people that signed up, when everybody on this call signed up, not everybody's gone through the program. And so you got to show up to get the value. You got to show up every week, whether you come to this call or you go through the content and you do the homework. You got to show up. You got to do it. And so these testimonials are going to be very inspirational to not only get people to join us and be part of this community, but to get people to stick with it. So for those of you who you see your names going by, thank you. I appreciate it. Darren appreciates it. Todd appreciates it. All the facilitators that have joined this call to help make it great appreciate it, because we really are here to just create impact and create value. So I'm going to open it up now and just go ad hoc. I do want to, any feedback on that call that you were on it, I'd love to hear it. I want to make sure everybody gets questions answered. So if you do have a question or a topic you want to make sure we discuss, raise your hand in the GoToWebinar control panel. We're not going to end it till we get there. But let's start off. I'm going to do some open mic and call out some folks. Michelle Town, you are going to be my first call out. How's it going, Michelle?
It's going great. How about you?
I'm doing good. You ready for the holiday?
Oh my gosh, I'm so ready. We just had our holiday party last night, and I swear, and I don't drink anymore, but I felt like I must have drunk a bottle of wine somewhere because I'm dragging this morning, so I do apologize. I'm like, woo! But I wanted to bring up a couple of things, Dave, which, first of all, thank you so much, last week for talking about doing the Mortgage Coach review, even on clients when I'm not trying to get a refi. We implemented that last week after the call because that's when I do my implementations. And I'm loving it because when I'm looking at these mortgage coaches, I'm realizing, sorry, but what a great job I did for people at that time. And I think they're going to enjoy it as well. My first one doesn't go out until next week, but I'm super thankful. What a great way to, make your raving fan club or your platinum group or make them feel special that, you are thinking about them other than just trying to earn a commission off of them. That's fantastic.
Love that. And again, love that about you. You're always taking action and going to the next level. By the way, Michelle, at RPM, you guys have us built into, your Nexus platform. We are getting really close to turning on the integration for Optimal Blue. Do you create the TCAs through Edge, or do you do it through your Nexus platform? How do you do it? I'm just curious.
I do it through the Nexus platform right now, where I build the template, and then super easy now to just make them all, each of the different rates go in, and then our system sends it to Edge. And then we get a report after that. So is that going to change a little bit? We can talk about that later.
Yeah, we get the details. I wanted to know what you're doing, and I wanted to bring it up for another reason. How long does it take you to create a total cost analysis, or however you and your team do it together? Okay,
so I build my first scenario in like 2 minutes. And then I've created 3 copy scenarios in less than a minute, and then my total edge. So within 4 minutes, I have a complete presentation. And once that first build is done, I can actually create a presentation in 1 minute now. It's fantastic.
Okay, so the takeaway for everybody on that is, obviously from a total cost analysis perspective, if you don't have a workflow and a process to do it in under 5 minutes, you need to get better. If you don't, that concept that once you've done a specific type of strategy, you can update it within a minute, you need to do better. So, by the way, I want to go around calling some people. If you are doing and creating, call it this high-value touch point in less than 5 minutes, let's talk about it. And then, Michelle, are there any other, when you think of coming into the end of the year and how I set up the call around, just let's look at the high-value touch points that really make a difference in your consumer experience. What are some other high-value touch points that you want to audit over the year and see if you can enhance how you're effectively executing? Anything else come to mind?
Yes. I'm always an adapter. I don't call myself a changer because I don't like that word, so I adapt to the environment. I think that touching my clients more often really that has been probably a downfall, because if I get too busy during the day, I try to make 25 to 50 calls per week, and sometimes I'll find myself getting lazy going, I don't want to talk to that person. But I'm pushing through that now, and I'm pushing through, listen, guys, I have just as much fear of calling a realtor that I haven't talked to in a while, just as much as anybody else. But I don't make it about the fear anymore. I've time blocked, so for me it's my, from 10 to 12 on Mondays, I just call, and I just pretend that I'm calling anybody, and what's helped me is knowing that person, in my mind, they want to hear from me. And so it's not a cold call for me, and I've kind of started erasing that fear thanks to my coach. So I'm super excited about that. That's been, I think next year it's going to be huge. Darren talked about it a little bit on his call, that we can't be just good anymore. We have to be excellent, because next year everybody who was in a call center type environment or was on refinances is going to be now calling our realtors again. And how do we make our realtors that we've had referrals with for years, sit there and say, thank you so much, but I've got my in-house lender, or I've got the person I work with. And that's going to be by calling and talking to them and making yourself of value.
Love that. By the way, that in last week's call with Darren, I had a couple, big takeaways in that. The way he framed great isn't good enough. I've always lived by the concept that, good is the biggest enemy of great. And, always played at a level of greatness, or at least worked really hard to. But the fact he said, that's not good enough anymore. There's a lot of great people out there in the marketplace delivering greatness, and you've got to deliver at a level of excellence. And funny thing is, fortunate for us, excellence happens to be one of our, one of our core tenets at Mortgage Coach. So we just need to live that a little brighter. So I also want to make sure we put some color around this question from Bobby Moody. She asked you, Michelle, what are the tasks you're doing? I do want to make sure we shine a light on what Darren said. He's like, they should be high-focused, total undisturbed time on your number one big goal. So there's some color from Darren. He's engaging with us pretty often. But Michelle, what are the high-value tasks you've been doing in jam sessions? And then as we go around the room here in a little bit, love to know anybody else's perspective on it. But what are you doing for Bobby?
So hi, Bobby. For the jam sessions that I'm doing right now, all of it is geared towards realtors. So I spend, I would say, 60% of the time on the realtors and 40% of the time on my past clients. That's just calling them, thanking them, asking them how their experience has been with the last purchases that they closed. Is there any, I do ask for referrals, which I never used to ask for. But on my realtors, I'm more talking to them about, like, for instance, the Fannie Mae raised their limits. So that was a great conversation piece for me and a great value add on my conversations. Hey, just wanted to make sure you got my email that I just sent about the high balance in Riverside, changing, or the FHA limits changing for the first time in 2006. So I try to make, when I do a phone call, that it's a value add to the person, not just always a, shoot the, what. And I do time block. Some of my people don't understand, but I have to. They go, how come I can't reach you between 10 and 12? And I go, I'm blocked off on doing other things. I said, but you've got my full attention now. And I think I touched on this last week. That is something thanks to Jen, that told me of, changing the way people perceive me, that, they want to, I'm in demand now, which is great. Huge change.
Awesome. Well, hey, appreciate that. Bobby Moody, I have unmuted you. Does that answer the question for you, or do you want to go a little deeper on that? Bobby.
Hey, good morning. Thank you, Michelle. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate Darren responding back. It does. I think there's been a mystery around, on time or jam sessions. What do you do during that time? Because I always block off the time and then I go, okay, what are the things that are going to make me the most productive during this time that I've blocked out of my calendar? So I think I've made them in my mind a little more difficult than they should be, because I really want them to be this amazing thing that changes my life. So that may be why I keep asking the questions. What are the things that you do during this time that you've blocked out that changes your business?
Sure. So I have them in order. So my first and most priority thing that I do anytime I start a jam session is, if there has been a problem file or a challenge that my team can't handle that they need my attention to, that is the very first thing that I do, because I am an awful procrastinator, and 3 days later I start solving the problem and then I close late. So I don't do that anymore. That's my first thing that I look at. Do I have any problems that need my attention right this second? And then I solve the problem during that time because it's total quiet time for me. That nobody's interrupting me. I'm not getting any phone calls. I don't have my email on. So that's great. The second thing that I do is, so I have 6 projects each year that I want to do. I start with one project and then just finish it. So, for instance, right now the project that we're working on is the closing statement. So I've made sure that I've delegated to the team. I make sure that that's moving on time. I just track it. So I track my projects probably the first. So that's the first 15 to 20 minutes of my jam session. And then the last part of the jam session for me is really looking at what thing can I bring to my realtors that week that's going to possibly change their business, or what one thing that I can do. So I try not to overthink it. Sometimes it's just simple. And to be honest with you, there are also times where I find out that I've got 20 minutes left of my jam session and I have nothing to do, and I do nothing. It's great. I enjoy it. I enjoy that 20 minutes of quietness in my brain.
I love it. I love it. Well, hey, one thing that's clear to me that this comes up so often, is that we just need to start talking about it. So I'm going to add, when I go around the table here in a minute and start calling on people randomly, I want to know how many jam sessions you did. Remember, in the program, Darren recommended 10. We came to the conclusion in the mortgage industry, given how much we're communicating and just, the role that we have, 10 is not the goal. It's something less than that. And we landed on 8. 8 is just a killer week. Now, that doesn't mean, like in Michelle's case, just for people that don't know you on the call, Michelle, how much production are you doing really quick? I just want to make sure they realize the amount of volume you're doing. How much?
On Wednesday, we will hit 100 million.
Yeah, so she's doing 100 million in production this year, guys. And I think, if I recall, your goal is like 4 or 5 jam sessions a week. Is that right? Could you confirm or clarify
Correct.
that?
I'm 3 to 5 jam sessions per week. 3 definitely are already on my calendar, and then I try to add a 4th one in, and I always do a jam session after Insane Productivity, this call, because I always I take notes. Yeah, I take notes throughout the whole thing. So when something comes up, I go, how can I implement it? So Bobby, great thing. So after last week's thing, I sat there and looked at all my notes. And on Monday, during my jam shift session, I started implementing let's start doing the mortgage coach on all our past clients. And I started with the first 5 that I closed at the beginning of the year. And so I'm doing 5 a day right now is what my goal is.
Love it. I also want to just shine a light. Our marketing team, we're always creating tools for everybody. As we go through this program, I was showing everybody. Oh, by the way, can you hear me, by the way?
Yes.
Can everybody hear me? Oh, okay. Marcy, could you post the link to that jam session document that Hamela just posted, and let me know when it's in there? I want to pull it up because it's just relevant to this. But here it is. So guys, in chat, this is a link to something we created that's reminding you and helping you with some ideas for jam sessions. And we're looking for more. Obviously, this particular suggestion has to do with Mortgage Coach jam sessions. Also, it's a dynamic link. So if you click on it, and it takes you to specific ideas that we're recommending as a mortgage coach, it's got some tutorials what to do and how to do it. So I just wanted to shine a light on that particular new feature that we created. We're going to more formally launch that at the first of the year, but it includes videos from a top producer. In this case, it's Kelly Zitlow, and how she does these, and it's actually an example of a video. We included a video from Wally. So I just wanted you guys to see that we are working on tools and ideas that we want to continue to enhance to help you guys take action. And this one just happened to be perfect because it was all about jam sessions. So good. Well, let's bring in some more people. Bobby, are we all good, or anything else you want to go deeper on that?
No, thank you. Thank you, Michelle. I really appreciate it.
No problem. And I'll talk to you later because we have a meeting today, right? You're going to call me today?
I put her on mute just as soon as she said yes.
Okay.
All right. I put you on mute now too, by the way. Raise your hand if you want me to unmute you and bring you back in, okay?
Okay.
All right. Hey, Mark Thompson, what is up, my man? How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Good morning, everybody.
Hey, you're in the Bay Area, right? I mean, aren't you up there?
I am. I'm actually about 70 miles away from you. If I knew you were in San Francisco, I would have made it down to the Foggy City.
Yeah. No, I had a cool dinner last night, and then I'm at the Hilton right now at the digital conference. So I should have given you a heads up.
That's
so.
Right.
How insanely productive were you this week?
It's really, really well. I achieved 3 jam sessions, which I'm very proud of.
Boom. Good job.
And I had certain topics that I'm working on, thanks to Michelle Town and the inspiration for the closing statements. I've kind of created a 2-touch point. One is for the closing statements for all of our clients. And then 2, I took it on to sending out a personal card to all the real estate agents and referral partners who gave us leads or we worked with this year. So that's been huge. I've got my team working on the closing statements. I have got a list of all the personal cards, and I've done maybe a little bit less than 20%, but I'll get those done by the end of the year as well. So those are 2 big ones that I worked on. And then I'm doing a Take Action in 2017 business planning class for a group of real estate agents at the Sacramento Association of Realtors next week. So my last jam session, actually, you know what, I might be able to get 4 this week. I've got 1 scheduled for this afternoon that I'm going to be not quite finalizing that, but getting it closer to fruition.
Great job, man. That's fantastic. Got me fired up just hearing all that. Do you have any questions or discussion topics that you want me to throw out to other folks as we go around? Any questions that you want to talk about today?
No, I'm just really enjoy hearing what other people are doing. It's certainly inspirational. Gosh, to be able to do half of what Michelle does would just be unbelievable. One of the things I would love to learn someday is, or talk about is, you know, the team structure that people have, you know, in order to do 100 million or in order to do, you know, 50 million. What does that look like? Because that is pretty much top on my target list for the last week and probably going through January, kind of revisiting our workflow, you know, from the point where we're meeting our clients to kind of the forever touch. You know, some of the organizations I work with, there's the before, during, and after process. So would love to learn what that looks like for other people. If not at this call, maybe in the future.
That's interesting. One, I know it's a topic that others want to talk about. I mean, it's a little outside the scope of, like, let's just say insane productivity. I mean, we're really getting specific. I know I'm not going to want to spend a lot of time as we get into the new year because I'm going to be bringing in, you know, 100+ people that are brand new to insane productivity, and it's just going to be very, you know, until you get, you guys remember what it was like when we first started this thing, until we get like 3 or 4 modules in, we're getting our head around that. But God, that's such an awesome topic. Michelle, I'm not going to ask you, I'm not going to mute you right now, but I want you to put some thought real quick, because I would like to do something for this community where we do focus on how to create a team to crush it and go to the next level. You know, whether you're someone at 30 million that wants to go to 50, or whether you're at 50 and you want to go to 100, Michelle, would you put some quick thought? I'm going to unmute you before the call and tell me, you know, how you think you could help with that. And then as I go around the table, if other people want to make that a topic, I might even just say, hey, let's do another call next Friday, and we'll make that the topic. Because it's not as though I don't have the time to do these Friday calls. It's that I didn't know if we'd have enough people wanting to come every Friday to have engagement and value, you know. And I don't want to be on your calendar and, you know, we end up having a really small group of people, and it's, you know, it's not incredibly valuable for you. I want to honor Michelle Town. When you put me on your calendar, I want to just crush it for you. So I'm going to do a pulse check on that, Mark, but I love that ask in that topic. So stay tuned on how I'm going to help crush that for you.
Thank you.
All right. So let's go. Who am I going to call? Remember, raise your hand if you have a question. Lazara. By the way, am I pronouncing your name right? Is it Lazar? Hello, I'm calling on you. Maybe you can't unmute. So, by the way, you had a question. You wanted to make sure you got into the Facebook private group. Marcy I don't know, did you see that question? Have we gone ahead and added Lazar to the Facebook group? Marcy?
Hi, Dave. I did go ahead and I did see that, and I will be adding him out right after this call.
Right on. Thank you, Marcy. And Lazar, anything you want to add? Any questions that you have for the group or for me today, other than that one? All right. Well, you're on mute on your side. If you do want to come back in, we're gonna take down your hand and the question that you have. But if you do have other questions, bring it. Troy Root, how are you doing, my friend? Troy.
Hey, Dave. How are we doing today?
We're doing good, man. Did you have an insanely productive week?
Oh, a lot better than the past weeks. I did I think it was either 3 or 4 jam sessions that I actually got into the about 90-minute zone. I didn't want to stop, but I remember Darren saying, past 90 minutes, you start going backwards. So I stopped and just pushed a couple things in another jam session. But yeah, it's a huge difference with these jam sessions, and especially it does definitely forgot how focused you get.
Yeah, no doubt. They're incredibly valuable when we make them count. Any questions for the group today? Anything that's on your mind or a topic that you want to cover?
Not going through my head today, I'll be honest with you.
All right. Well, if anything comes to mind, bring it up. Remember, folks, talk to you a little bit. Troy, I'm going to put you back on mute here. I am looking for hands, so if you do have a hand or a question, but I do want to go around the room, just make sure we cover some things. Diane, how are you doing, Diane? Diane, we've unmuted you. Are you muted on your side? All right. Sometimes I hit it when I unmute sometimes I don't. Scott, I have unmuted you. Are you available to engage here? How you doing, Scott?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Doing good. Where are you at in the same productivity right now? What module are you on, and how was your week?
Yeah, I'm on module 11, and it's been a great week. It's been a week of in the office and a little bit out of the office. Played in a golf tournament actually, and I do that just to again kind of get some white space in my brain. But it's also an opportunity for me to socialize and spread the word of what I do to a bunch of people that I'm in a social circle with at the golf club. So Michelle mentioned some things that she does in her jam sessions, and I also make it a point to goals to do 3 jam sessions a week. And what I try to do, like Michelle does, is do things that make me feel good about my business. And if it's solving a tough file, that's great. Or if it's getting on the phone and calling 10 realtors or making 20 phone calls, that's what I do. I try to do things that make me feel good about my business so that I'm thinking positively, having positive energy, and continue to move forward on that vision and goal of vision and trying to achieve my goals at the end of the day.
Nice. What are your critical few, the 3 things that you're really focusing on week to week, day to day, to make sure you get done?
The first thing I do is how really one of my biggest things is how can I help my clients today, whether it's a realtor or my current clients that are in the process, or I've always got, it seems like 20 to 30 people out there that are thinking about refinancing or thinking about buying a house or looking to buy a house, and they're in the process at some point, and maybe they haven't found a house yet. So I'll call them and make sure they're aware of what's going on in the market, where the rates are, check in with them, see if they need any information to help them make a better decision, or if they found anything that's really exciting for them to look at and get in and make an offer on, just to again kind of push the business along and make sure that I'm reminding my clients every week of, hey, I'm still here to help you. If you have any questions, I'm here to help you. Whatever you need, I'm here to make it easy for you and help you understand it.
Nice. And how many calls and conversations are you having per day, per week, in order to achieve your goals?
Oh, I'm making at least, 20, 30 calls per week, and I'm having, probably not that many conversations because not everybody answers the phone when you call them, at least in today's world, as you know. But I'll also text people a reminder if I don't catch them, and but having conversations at least half of that, if not more. And then I don't track exactly when I get a hold of people because I'll call a realtor, then he'll call me back later in the day, and I'll miss him, and then I'll text him, and then he knows that I'm present and available for them or for him or her. So I just make sure that I make a connection with my referral partners and my current clients and my clients in process, so they know that I'm here to help them. That way, when I do talk to them, I can always ask them for business, or hey, who do you know who I can help get some financing done, whether they buy a house or refinancing. Oh yeah, I'll give your name to everybody I know. I gave your name to someone last week. I think that really makes a difference at the end of the day.
No doubt. Well, good deal, Scott. I'm going to put you back on mute unless you have another question or you have a question for the group, and then we are in the last third of the call, so I've got a plan on how I'm going to close out today's call. Is there anything else on your end, Scott?
Yeah, well, I'm going to have a meeting next week with I don't have technically have a team. I'm just in the process of building one, and I've got some really good ideas of how I'm going to do that. I'm going to have a big meeting with a couple people in my office next week to get started, and love to hear Michelle's advice on that. If you're going to do a call next week on next Friday on that, I'd be there for sure.
Okay, thank you for that update. So let's do this. I want to come back to you, Mark, as we get in the last half of this call. I want to talk about focus forward. You made this post. What was it, December 2nd? So yeah, so last week. I want to get everybody just locked to have an awesome week next week. And that might start with how you're gonna end today and what you're gonna do over the weekend, but whether or not we have a call next week, I'll determine in a few minutes here once I get some feedback from Michelle and a few others. But Mark, if you could, one, provide some color around what we're looking at here, and then two, what is your plan to make next week just completely insanely productive? Mark.
All right, so I think the question is, what am I doing this next week to be insanely productive, and then shed some color on. Are you talking about my whiteboard, or on what does the team structure call?
Yeah, you made this post, and I actually meant to start the call and have you give a little color around that, but I missed it, and I don't want to. Whenever you guys add something like this that's valuable to our private page, I want to make sure it delivers value to every folks. I mean, I would love if we got a little more engagement so I knew that it delivered value, but I had that as part of my plan, and I don't want to get off this call without having you give color to this.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thank you. Sometimes I just got to write it down. I think Todd inspired me once when I saw his photos of how his office is surrounded by notes that he's doing. And last week's call and hearing from you and Michelle, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to stand up, and while people are talking, I'm writing on the board. So this is my end-of-the-year push, and I'm working towards several of them. So I'm kind of going backwards and forwards. I just needed to have it written down. And I'm not sure what else to say. It's pretty much, if you can't read my writing, it's sending closing statements to all my clients. I've already got that working. Send personal cards to all the agents, referral partners, and businesses in 2016. That progress is going. Close my current loans of $2.6 million. I've got 3 that are going to be closing today, and I've got actually it'll be my 4th, so I've got 3 more to go. So I'll hit my 2.6. December is a month of giving. I love that idea. I love the idea of being able to circle around with my clients, my friends, my family members, and just making that be the focus. Yearly review, I'm deep in the heart of going through a process that I've done since 1995, thanks to the help of Rick Baumgart. So I love the process of, reviewing what it is that I'm doing, finding out what I need to do in 2017, and then setting that plan together. So I mean, pretty much everything else. Launching my mobile reputation. It's a special little project that I have on the side. Working towards 5 new families. I've got.
Time out real quick. if you could give a little more description on what that means, launching your mobile reputation. What does that mean?
Yeah, no problem at all. So one of the things that I've noticed over this last year is that I'm getting more and more clients that are finding me online. And the reason that they're finding me online is because of the reviews that people are having in regards to Yelp or Google or whatever source it is, in Zillow as well. So whenever we have a new client, I always ask, how do you find us? How do you know what's going on? And they say, well, we heard about you we saw you on a review. I mean, statistics that you've shared and numerous other people shared, people start their search online. So I've been in the process of, over the last year, kind of identifying that, and I've created and partnered with and kind of created this app called My Mobile Reputation that I'm rolling out to myself and to some referral partners to help people get more online reviews, both positive in regards to that, and then also being able to have negative reviews that can be sent back to me so that I know if there's something that I can be doing differently or my team can be doing differently, we can address those as well.
Love it. Okay. Yeah, I have been hearing more and more mortgage coaches that are crushing it with Yelp reviews, and I know a few big players that are like closing, 3, 5, even more than 5 loans a month from the leads that they get from Yelp. And I think it's mainly, mobile Yelp. It's not but anyways, we'll talk about more of that. I am just hearing, different strategies of getting reviews, leveraging mobile. Wanted to get a little color on what you're doing. So keep us updated on that.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark, go ahead. Mark, anything else you want to say before we move off this topic?
No, the only thing is that I think I have this reverse, and I think my number 10 should be number 1. And
yeah,
that's
right?
My family. Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
we won't show your wife. Don't worry.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's all I guess.
This is not public Facebook. This is just the Mortgage Coach, insanely productive Facebook. And by the way, Mark, I mean, as you know, in order to have that quality time with your wife, you got to do all these other things, So if we are insanely productive and we do all these right things, at the end of the day, it gives us time for that life. So one more thought, and I'm going to put you back on mute, Mark, but I thought that was very valuable, very useful. If there's anyone else that is creating notes like this, you have a board like this, I think the community gets a lot of value when you take a picture of it. And while I thought this post was pretty comprehensive and people could get a lot of value, having you speak to it added a whole nother layer of value. I'm sure I know it did for me, and I'm sure it did for others. So, Michelle, I'm going to come back to you before we run out of time here. What are your thoughts about coming on a call next Friday? And I will invite some other folks that may be part of this community. I might even invite some top producers from the Mortgage Coach community that aren't. But, really dedicating next week's, well, first of all, I'm just trying to decide if I'm even going to do a call next week. But what are your thoughts? Would you participate if we did a call next week for the Insane Productivity Group, and it was just all about team, how to build teams, how to manage teams, and how to excel? Would you be able to make it, and would you be willing to share some of your, best practices?
Oh gosh, yes. I can tell you all the mistakes I made too, because that probably is more important than the success stories. Is the mistakes, because you go, okay, no. But yeah, absolutely, I would be happy to. I'm available next Friday. The Friday after I won't be, but this Friday I'm definitely available.
All right. Well, I'm going to change what I said at the beginning of the call. We're going to do a call next Friday. I was just going to take a break on this till the first of the year, but I just think, and I'm not going to be able to crush it for you guys in the new year for reasons I already described. So we are doing a call next Friday. Michelle, at a minimum, will be ready to lead. If you are on this call and you think you're doing it well, you've got a team and you're highly productive, you want to share the leadership role next week, reach out to me. Just send me an email at dave@mortgagecoach. Right now, Michelle, it's just you and me. I'm not going to have more than 3 other leaders, but I want to try to have a couple other folks that have teams that could share best practices and help everybody go to the next level.
Yeah, and
Sound
Dave,
good?
Dave, if you, it might be good, because I know there are people that are not in insane productivity that are trying to build teams. Maybe open it up to the mortgage coach community, because it is, I can tell you right now, it is the number one focus. And everybody that calls me, or people that call me because they want to know about Zillow or something, they ask, how do I build a team? I don't think people even know where to start, and it you can start very simply and make it so much more productive. I mean, it's a game changer if you can build the right team, and I'm sure anybody who has a team knows that. Talk about being productive. Having a team can help you be so much more productive, and learn to delegate. That's probably the number one thing on there. Let it go.
No doubt. I'll think about that, Michelle. There's some logistical issues.
Okay,
one thing I could definitely make the recording of that call available to a broader audience. I just, the way we've set up the logistics for this call, I don't know that. Anyways, put it this way, Michelle. If there's a few people you want to invite, to that next call, let me know, and we will get you some invites. Whether or not we're gonna blast that, probably not, but I'll think about it. Also, if you're looking at my screen right now, I've interviewed a lot of top producers around team. So it's a conversation I've had. Actually, one of the top calls of the year was with Sam Hansen. His team does, I think, $250 million a year in production. And it was, anyways, how to build, lead, and manage world-class teams. I mean, it was a really killer call. I did a call. This is a 3-year-old call with Jeremy Forcier. But what was very cool about this call is I actually interviewed 2 of his team members. So, he's got Bea, I don't know. She's still with him. So, I mean, it was like almost 4 years ago. And so I had, 3 of his team, him and 2 of his team members, and we talked about team. And so I would just tell you that call is awesome. I think, Michelle, even though you're killing it, you would like this call. So I am putting this in chat for homework. But do realize if you just went to our YouTube channel and you typed in, I'm in Mortgage Coach YouTube channel. You're watching what I'm doing. I go to search our channel. I type in team, and there's a number of resources on that. So just heads up, we've had this conversation. This was another very good call with Nikki Groff. She's a really neat story. She went from top producer to team to VP of marketing for Wallach and Bolt. So, I don't remember, I think I've interviewed her twice, and I know this particular call covered a lot of team, but for her to go from, hey, I'm a top producer to building a team, and then to say, oh, I'm going to be VP of the, marketing for the company, and really, still have a team, but it was like a self-managed team. It was a really neat call. She's a pretty special story. So heads up, there's some other team resources for you. Michelle, anything else before I put you back on mute?
No, I just want to say one thing. Thank you for sharing your board. And if anybody does not have a whiteboard somewhere, anywhere, it is so important, because I can't use my phone for that. I need to see it. I need to walk into my office every morning and see that board, and because it motivates me. And I love that. I was like, I have scratches all over my board, but I will post my board as well this weekend so everybody can see it too. But thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Well, that's a neat idea. I'm going to make an ask for everybody, because when I interviewed Michelle, I had asked her to take a picture of herself, working. And in that picture, she had like some yellow stickies on her computer and some reminders. And it was part of the conversation. And, I've interviewed a lot of great loan officers. I've done site visits with a lot of great loan officers. And I would tell you they do have something in common. The way they remind themselves to do what matters most is special. And they all have ways of doing it. I've been to people that have like sticky, like literally their computer monitor looks like a flower because it's got so many sticky notes around it. And, it looks a little crazy and out of control, but it's like, it works for them. So I want everybody to take a picture. If you got a whiteboard that helps you remember what matters most, I want a picture of it. If you have sticky notes around your computer, post it on Facebook. Don't do this for me, do this for the community. Let's share best practices of what we're doing. And if we, through inspiration from these calls, if you upgrade how you remind yourself what matters most, upgrade the picture. Sound good? Michelle, does that work for you?
Works great.
All right. Okay, so I don't have a raised hand. I do want to end this call on the early side, but I'm going to bring Bobby back in. So, Bobby, I want to recognize you because you've done a great job of engaging on our Facebook page. You've asked questions. You've added value. Grateful for that. As we wrap up today's call, any questions you want to make sure Michelle or anybody else who's on the call right now answers, myself, and also, what are you doing to get focused for the week ahead?
Well, Bobby. I mean, I'm here. I have so many notes today that I'm going to have to formulate my focus after I get off the call today because there was so much good content this morning. I really appreciate that. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Good. I love the fact that one of the things that I do when I'm just in mundane stuff is listen to YouTube videos and take notes about things. I've been listening to a lot of Jocko stuff, and so I love the tip about building teams with Nikki Goff. So I wrote that down. That's going to be something that I'm going to put on this week. I have a whiteboard, but I'm using my whiteboard for something else. So I'm going to create the whiteboard on what matters most. I use my whiteboard for visual long-term targets and affirmations. So I'm going to add that. I'm sure I'll come up with a question before the week is over, but you answered everything from last week. I have a lot to do now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
by the way, you mentioned, oh, go ahead.
Yeah. No, you go ahead.
Okay. No, you mentioned Jocko's podcast, and it's I interviewed Jocko earlier this year. I think I will be recognizing it as the number one mortgage coach interview of the year. So I'm still kind of, there's a couple calls that are giving it a run for its money, but every year I kind of release what were the top interviews of the year, and I think that's going to be the top one. But his podcast is insane. And by the way, that's a good thing, insane. And I think he was, I'm going to confirm it on Facebook right now. I think it was recognized by Apple as like the number one podcast of the year. I'm looking to see what they said here. But
yeah.
If you, check that out. I mean, it's so good, in the mortgage industry, you don't know Jocko's backstory. He was, when he came out of the SEAL teams, he was the chief accountability officer for Prospect Mortgage. The interview I did with him was with him and one of the guys that served with him in the SEAL teams, and he was, his group was the highest decorated SEAL team in the Afghan war. And I mean, this guy is just, a complete hero. He's the hero's hero, and his ability to teach and lead is unbelievable. If anybody on the call is not aware of his book called Extreme Ownership, I think it's going to be my favorite book of the year, and just want to put a plug in because you mentioned Jocko, and he's incredible.
Yeah. I'm in the process of reading the book, but I'm listening to podcast number 52, which just came out yesterday, and it's just a question and answer podcast. But it's really good in the fact that he really does throw back accountability to you, your individual self, for everything in your life on a daily basis. So it's hard to implement his level of accountability, but it does really help me refocus onto that all the time. So I'm going to make myself accountable today for how I'm going to implement everything that I learned next week. It's great.
Love it. Well, let me see if there's any hands raised. I am going to wrap up the call 5 minutes early. Folks, at a minimum, myself and Michelle will be here next Friday to talk about teams. I am going to invite a few other folks. If anybody listens to any of the videos in the Mortgage Coach YouTube page that I called out, please, let us know that you did. I would also ask you to post questions. I'm going to actually put a post in here, talking about what the focus is going to be next week and what questions you have. I would love to serve Michelle, to have her be a little prepared with the questions that are going to come in and the things that you want to know. So for those of you that want leadership on how to build and scale your team, what questions you have, please post those in our Facebook group. And I'm glad that this was a great call. Todd Brookspan is such a great coach, and coming to today's call without Todd, I was kind of like, man, is it going to be a great call? We're coming to the end of the year. Will I be able to pull it off? And Bobby, thanks for saying that we pulled off a good call today. So have an amazing weekend, everybody. Have a great Friday, and we will see you next Friday. Take care, everybody.